After nearly 5 years, the FBI arrests someone in the investigation into the pipe bombs found in Washington, D.C. the night before the January 6th insurrection. Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Laurel with what's happening in the news now. This is the first time authorities publicly identified a suspect in a case that had remained a mystery. The two pipe bombs were found on the night of January 5th, 2021, outside the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic national parties in D.C. For years, investigators searched for the person seen in this surveillance video planting the bombs. They released suspect descriptions, new clips, and offered rewards for tips. The Department of Justice identified the suspect as Brian Cole Jr., a man from Virginia. Agents took him into custody Thursday morning. Prosecutors say he's charged with using an explosive device, and there could be more charges. Rafael Sanchez Cruz is at the DOJ's headquarters in D.C. with more details on what led to this arrest.
After nearly 5 years, you might be wondering, how did we get to an arrest? Federal officials tell us it wasn't new evidence, it wasn't a new witness, it was simply due diligence that led to the arrest of Brian Cole of Prince William County. The FBI says that under the Trump administration, they brought in an entire new team of experts to sift through 3 million lines of evidence. Officials held back on providing more information about the investigation. They're calling it ongoing and active. However, court documents obtained by WUSA 9 are providing some insight into this case. Using the surveillance video released by the FBI, investigators say they determined the suspect was around 5 feet 7 inches. Cole is 5 feet 6 inches. Now, court documents say the 30-year-old also uses corrective glasses like the suspect seen on surveillance video. Investigators say that on January 5th of 2021, the night the pipe bombs were placed near the RNC and the DNC headquarters, Cole's cell phone pinged in that area. They also say Cole's car was observed driving past license plate readers near that area. Investigators say Cole's credit card transactions show he purchased materials used in the construction of pipe bombs. Court documents say those purchases started in 2019 and continued through 2020. They also allege Cole continued purchasing these materials after the discovery of the pipe bombs. DC's U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro gave us a glimpse into the investigation.
For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect.
Yeah, DC's U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says for now, Cole is facing charges for the use of an explosive device and attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive. We still don't know a motive. We still don't know if this could be related to the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Officials made it very clear that Cole could be facing additional charges. We asked if terrorism is on the table. They said it's too early in the investigation. They're still conducting interviews and still searching through his home in Prince William County.
The videos from 2021 show a person placing a bomb outside the DNC headquarters and another in an alley behind the RNC building. They're both just a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol. The discovery of the bombs drew police from the Capitol complex just minutes before crowds of President Trump supporters started breaking through police barriers to storm the Capitol building. The timing drove conspiracies about the bombing suspect and a possible connection to the riot. Both bombs were safely disabled and no one was hurt, but investigators say they were absolutely capable of exploding and they would have hurt people if that had happened. The one at the DNC came within feet of then Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. She came into the building through a ramp that was within 20 feet from where that bomb was placed. A Department of Homeland Security report says she was in the building for more than 90 minutes before the bomb was found and was evacuated. Authorities are searching through the suspect's home in Virginia as they collect evidence to try to piece together a motive. Matthew Torres spoke with neighbors.
A large presence of law enforcement, including the FBI, swarming this cul-de-sac in Northern Virginia. Investigators focusing on the alleged DC pipe bomb suspect's house at the end of Manor House Court in Woodbridge. That's roughly an hour drive southwest from where 30-year-old Brian Cole is accused of planting the devices outside the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters the night before the January 6th insurrection on the U.S. Capitol.
I saw the two green Humvee-looking vehicles that were up front. A lot of men and maybe women in camouflage with automatic rifles aimed at the house, and they were over the loudspeaker saying, we have a federal search warrant.
This neighbor says he saw the FBI as they showed up. He saw two women leave the house, but did not see the suspect arrested.
And then I saw them send a drone in first. I could hear it buzzing, barely see it, but hear it buzzing. They sent that in, and then the men with the rifles, I'd say 10 to 12, went in the house after that.
Our cameras captured investigators combing through this blue car parked outside the house and analyzing evidence. A startling and unsettling scene for neighbors who describe the community as tight-knit.
That's something really concerning, especially like I said, we all kind of know each other here.
Several neighbors we spoke with all agree Brian Cole always kept to himself.
He walks his dog a lot, so everybody in the neighborhood would recognize him. If you said the shorter gentleman, African-American with glasses, headphones, and the Chihuahua, the entire neighborhood would know who you were talking about.
I just know that every time we would see him, he would walk around with his dog.
As shocking as it is to learn about the news of the arrest, neighbors seeing surveillance video of the suspect for the first time have their questions.
Well, he never really walked that fast, but then again, he's in a situation where, you know.
And he doesn't look that big, as tall and bulky.
It would be hard to believe just because he seems very quiet and reserved.
Investigators reviewed tens of thousands of video files, hundreds of tips, and scoured cell phone tower data. They also looked at the sales records of black and gray Nike Air Max sneakers worn by the suspect as seen in the surveillance video. Fewer than 25,000 pairs had been sold around the time the bombs were placed. We're back with more coverage right after the break. Welcome back to our coverage of the big arrest in the D.C. pipe bomb investigation. After nearly 5 years, authorities announced a suspect is in custody. The Department of Justice held a press conference just hours after the news of the arrest and answered questions on the investigation. We'll listen to portions of that now.
When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. An individual who is now alleged to have placed multiple explosive devices to blow up multiple people and multiple officials, innocent civilians, is now arrested thanks to the brave men and women of the FBI and the interagency. I want to take a moment to thank the Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Capitol Police, our brave prosecutors, the Department of Justice, and our leader, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, whose relentless work on this case made this possible. We did not discover any new information. What we did, an investigation spearheaded by the deputy director and the ADIC of our Washington field office, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, sifted through all the data, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do. As a result of that, we generated numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with our U.S. attorney partners, and came to this conclusion today.
Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down two explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him to the end of the earth. It wound up in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to thank the team. They were amazing. They never let this go.
It is the resolve and determination of our investigators that ultimately led to the identification and the arrest of this suspect. We all know pipe bombs are dangerous, not because of the potential loss of life, damage to property, or injury that they can cause, but also because they are tools that terrorize our community. I know some people had given up on finding the perpetrator, but not the FBI and not our partners. We do not forget, we do not give up, and we do not relent. Though it had been nearly 5 years, our team continued to churn through massive amounts of data and tips that we used to identify this suspect.
And this case is big. 4 years, 10 months, and 28 days ago, an individual placed a bomb in the vicinity of both the RNC and the DNC. And for that amount of time, that individual evaded accountability. Today, as a result of the cumulative efforts of the men and women in the FBI and the police department and the Department of Justice, we are finally able to make an arrest of an individual by the name of Brian Cole. As the Attorney General has indicated, he is arrested for transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce, as well as the attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. You know, folks, this case involved millions of pieces of data. And it is a huge win because it was like finding a needle in a haystack. So much of this evidence was very specific, but a lot of it was also very general. For example, there were 233,000 black end caps of the type that were used in this case. I want you to think about the fact that the FBI had to go through the sale of every one of them to try to find commonality with an individual, along with the purchase of the pipe itself, the cap ends, the wires, the steel, and the 9-volt batteries. Every one of those had to be mined and remined to the point where we were able to then connect. And make no mistake, it was this administration, it was this president who made the decision that we were going to use all of our efforts to get it done, and get it done they did. Finally, let me say this. Today begins the formal process of accountability, where this defendant will begin his journey through the criminal justice system. And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line.
We'll continue to track the latest in this investigation as details continue to develop and bring you the very latest as we get them. For now, I'm Anna Laurel. Thanks for watching.